And now to our week-long focus on the Jubilee government's first 100 days in office. As Kenya buckles under the weight of a runaway crime, the security chiefs have found themselves on constant trips to various corners of Kenya where gang attacks have become commonplace. Tonight we have the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the country's security, Joseph Ole Lenku. He will be speaking to us in a few moments, but first here is KTN's Catherine Omwanto with a look at what some Kenyans have endured over the last 3 months or so.
There is no doubt that President Uhuru Kenyatta had his work cut out for him as the 4th President of the Republic as he took oath of office on the 9th day of April 2013.
I assume as President of the Republic of Kenya.
Right after his inauguration at the Kasarani Sports Stadium, the state of insecurity went from bad to worse. The most shocking wave of violence was that of Busia and Bungoma. In late April, a gang known as the 40 Brothers attacked several villages, including Kikweju village.
Wanaingia kwa boma wakipomoa. Sasa wakati wanapomoa na wenyewe wanapika nduru. Sasa wakati wa kupika nduru, sasa ati jirani mnakimbia, yule anafika huko anakatwa. Yule anafika kwa jirani mwingine anakatwa. Sasa ndio wakaendelea hivyo kukata kila mmoja paka ndipo sisi tulichukuliwa tukaletwa huko.
It is estimated that at least 73 people were killed and over 150 others maimed. Residents pointed an accusing finger at security agents for taking too long to respond to their plight, and others took matters into their own hands, lynching 18 suspected members of the 40 Brothers.
Haya mambo yametokea Tana River, yametokea Baragoi, yametokea Nairobi, sasa imefika Bungoma. Hatujui ni wapi itatokea tena.
It is our responsibility as government to ensure that every Kenyan is safe and secure.
By early May, the situation in Busia and Bungoma had cooled down, but simultaneously the situation in Garissa was flaring up. On May 24th, the headlines read, 5 killed in Laboi. 2 of those killed were administration police officers of Damajele AP camp. Al-Shabaab took credit for the attack. Unlike the Bungoma killings, this time the state acted almost immediately. Uniformed officers of the state yet again swamped Garissa town, raiding homes and shops on suspicion that some locals were harboring Al-Shabaab sympathizers. Their raids raised questions of violation of human rights. By this time, the president had not named his cabinet secretary for internal affairs. The workload landed on David Kimayo's lap. But the inspector general seemed to have a lot on his plate, given constant turf wars with the head of the National Police Service Commission, Johnston Kavuludi.
It's very unfortunate that just the day before yesterday, there was an incident where 2 people lost life. And the officers on the ground are pursuing them. There are some leads of which might end up going to lead to some arrest.
In the middle of the turf wars, another simmering conflict exploded yet again. Interclan violence between the Gare and Degodia of Mandera. Given the situation in Garissa, David Kimayo seemed conflicted on whether or not to send the army to quell the violence.
Na tunapanga hiyo operation kikamilifu, sio ile operation ambaye ya kurudi. It has to be properly sustained disarmament and an operation exercise.
According to the Kenya Red Cross, the violence had claimed 85 lives and over 100 people were seriously injured. These statistics have so far been disputed by the government. These 3 events, coupled by blasts in Isili, have brought cause for worry in the operation of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, with concerns that security agents just don't have the capacity to protect the Mwananchi from such violent flare-ups.
If this doesn't stop, we are going to have to be forced to take some very drastic measures, which again have their own implication, because this is not an issue of petty crime where you can, these are individuals who are being hidden by, so it's a matter that they themselves must resolve. But failure to resolve it must mean that the government must take a much stronger stands.
According to the Jubilee manifesto, the government is supposed to provide 1 policeman for every 800 citizens, as opposed to the current ratio, which is 1 policeman to every 1,500 citizens. But that is still in the pipeline. With 100 days down the line, it seems that the government's plate is full and the work has just begun. Catherine Omwando, KTN in Nairobi.
All right, in the studio with me, I'm joined by the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, Security and National Coordination, Mr. Joseph Ole Lenku. Thank you very much for making time to be with us this evening.
Thank you, Smart.
Let's start from where we should start tonight, and that is from yesterday, where in Mathare, the police organized to go and get the drug dens and, the alcohol in Mathare. Ended up being a day of running battles. In the end, one woman was killed by a stray bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start from there.
Well, it's important to highlight that we are keen on eliminating illicit brews and managing the menace of drug addiction to our youth. That has had a negative impact on our young population. And as a government, we are very keen to remove that. And therefore, definitely, as we go for it, the owners of the businesses will put up a fight. It's not going to be easy from them. But as a government, we are not going to relent. We are very clear on it. I think you saw one time myself in Mathare, making sure that we go to the dens. And it's not going to be a petty errands business. Here we are targeting the manufacturers of these illicit brews, not the mama pima, small timers. So definitely, because these are big businesses, some are small industries, the owners will put up a fight.
So what went wrong yesterday?
Naturally, in an operation like that, there is, because these people have a potential to fight back. Therefore, in the process of our police trying to repulse the fighting back, that stray bullet killed the woman. It's very unfortunate and regrettable.
In terms of our security, and it has now a bit, we've seen a constant fight back from not only those drug barons. The other day we had an issue of this Chinedu, and one of his associates managed to sneak back to the country, as it were. How is that even possible, Mr. Ole Lenku, in this day and age, that we send someone back on charges of saying this person is involved in drug business, and somehow his associate just sneaks back to the country?
When we are trying to fight this menace of drug and related businesses, the owners of the businesses will put up a fight. Of course, due to corruption, they will try and buy their way out, including buying our officers. I want to highlight that out of the person who came back, we actually got our staff who allowed the officer back and also put her in jail. Of course, the reason why we want to enhance technology is because we want to make sure that the movement across East Africa, and we had an East African Ministers of Immigration meeting in Bujumbura 2 weeks ago. The reason is so that we are able to have a system that talks across the state. If we do that, we are able to monitor the movement across the borders. And therefore, it's not going to be an easy fight. Drug barons are very rich people. They want to protect their businesses, and therefore they're going to try and fight us back.
Speaking about drug barons, we know there's an order from the president that every foreigner who is involved in drug business should be deported. But both me and you know from the records that drug barons, the biggest drug barons, are actually Kenyans.
We are going to, first of all, we started by getting out foreigners. And as we talk, we have gotten more than 60 out of this country who are actually very big. Of course, for Kenyans, we are going to use the law to deal with them because we're not going to deport Kenyans. We are using our intelligence machinery to establish who these drug barons are. I said earlier, we are not going to target small timers. We are dealing with the big boys. And therefore, we are very clear about it. You can see the Chinedus and the like. Those are big-time drug barons. Of course, for the Kenyan system, we are establishing a data, establishing information, so that when we go to court, we have a sustained case. Because we don't want to start something that fails. So behind the scenes, I will say that we are building very strong information, establishing facts, so that when we go to court, we have a sustainable case.
My final question on this. Just before the last year, there was a list that was supposed to be tabled in Parliament of the list of drug barons in this country by the former Internal Security Minister, Professor George Saitoti. He died just a few weeks before he delivered that list. Mm-hmm. Do you have the list?
I will not say that I have the list or I don't have the list, but I'm clear, and you can see, and everybody can see, that the fight against drugs and the drug barons is very clear as a government, and we are fighting it out. How we are going to go about it will have a lot of implication, and therefore we may not be able to release all the information as we talk. But clearly, the action and the deportation you saw is a demonstration to the government commitment to get these people out.
So, Lenku, we definitely need more time to discuss security matters and issues in this country. But thank you very much. We're watching, and definitely invite you in a forum that we can have more time to discuss these issues and go at great lengths. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Smart. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Asante.
Well, now to the Nairobi County, and we're now going to discuss the governor's checklist. And we've been doing this from Monday, and we'll do it a whole week, discussing the 100 days of Jubilee. So today we'll take 3 counties. Let's start with the Nairobi County budget estimates that stands at 31 billion Kenya shillings. Governor Evans Kidero has proposed to raise 14.6 billion shillings through internal sources. That's through parking fees and licensing, among other revenue allocation means. Now, the county wants 16.9 billion from the national government to cover its deficit. The National Treasury only has allocated the county 8 billion shillings, half of what they requested. Now, the governor's office takes about 823 million shillings, and the huge chunk of the resources now the Nairobi County proposes should go to infrastructure. That's a whopping 4.7 billion shillings. In Machakos, the governor there, Dr. Alfred Mutua, was hoping to be allocated close to 10 billion shillings. The national government allocated the county 4.9 billion shillings, almost half of what they wanted. And now the county also proposed to raise through internal means close to 2 billion shillings. A high chunk of the resources are allocated to infrastructure and water. The Machakos County has also a deficit of close to 1 billion shillings. In Kisumu, things get a bit complicated. Now, the county budget of 6.4 billion shillings has been met with criticism and much condemnation. Now, this follows the county proposal to spend 72 million shillings on purchasing new Prados, a further 15 million shillings for servicing these executive vehicles. The governor there, Jackton Ranguma, also has an allocation of 10 million shillings to, quote, renovate the governor's house. A further 235 million shillings on the acquisition and construction of county ward offices. The county, on the positive though, has allocated 25 billion shillings towards tourism-related activities, but also inherits a 617 million shilling deficit, just like other counties.